We are just 29 days away from the midterms, and we are seeing razor-thin margins in some key races.
That's right, particularly in Wisconsin. We were just discussing that. In the race for the Senate, CBS News' latest Battleground Tracker shows Republican incumbent Ron Johnson with just 1 point lead over Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. And the battle for governor is in a dead heat. Democrat Tony Evers is tied with Republican challenger Tim Michels. Let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Nikole, Wisconsin is such a pivotal state in the midterms, one of those that we're watching so closely. And as Megan said, it's just razor thin there. The president was there last month. The first lady is traveling there this week. And I mean, we're just wondering what's happening there in the Badger State. What can you tell us about what this week is going to be all about? How are they defining what wins?
Yeah, and I'll have to preface this by saying that you'll have to bear with us because we have some construction here on the White House grounds, so that's what you're hearing in the background. But look, in terms of the First Lady, she'll be there in an official capacity, addressing a teachers' conference there in the state. But, you know, look, this race has really tightened quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, and we just saw both candidates, Mandela Barnes, as well as incumbent Senator Ron Johnson, debate on Friday. And, you know, in terms of the trajectory of this race, you know, one thing, I was actually in Wisconsin briefly over the weekend, and one thing that Mandela Barnes told me when I asked why was this race so close is that he said, you know, look, in Wisconsin, we have had close races before, and in essence, you know, this is really no different. So the campaign is continuing to move full speed ahead, as is Senator Johnson. You know, I think in terms of his campaign, the sense is he's been able to pull out wins before in his previous bids for Senate, and they feel confident that he will be able to once again be victorious this go round again. Of course, we continue to see a number of the same issues that have defined other races, with the economy, crime being a defining issue for Senator Johnson against Barnes, and then Barnes, of course, really kind of leaning in to abortion kind of in this closing stretch of the campaign.
Well, Nikole, since you just mentioned that, we know that Wisconsin voters list economy and inflation as top two issues. Abortion, however, is tied for fifth. Senator Bernie Sanders is actually warning Democrats against focusing too much on abortion. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, again, this is something that we are seeing many Democrats do kind of in the final weeks of these campaigns. You know, in terms of Senator Sanders, he wrote an op-ed in The Guardian in which he said while the abortion issue must remain on the front burner, it would be, in his words, political malpractice for Democrats to ignore the state of the economy. So a pretty strong warning there from Senator Bernie Sanders. But that being said, you know, again, having been on the ground in Wisconsin, where Mandela Barnes was doing an event talking about the importance of abortion rights, and he told me that he will continue to do so in these closing weeks. You know, what he and other Democrats have argued is this is as much an economic issue as it is a healthcare issue in terms of, you know, preventing women from having that right over their reproductive health, and that it bleeds into so many other areas. So they do continue to stand by the fact that they feel that this is a winning issue, even if voters at the same time, and polling shows that, you know, voters are more concerned with the economy and with inflation. That has certainly been part of the messaging from Barnes and other Democrats, but it will be interesting to see how it plays out in these coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Bernie Sanders is not saying stay away entirely from abortion. It should be front and center, but just not the exclusive or the last message. Now, I want to move on to Michigan, because our battleground tracker there shows Governor Whitmer with a 6-point lead over her Republican challenger, Tudor Dixon. Michigan went for former President Trump in 2016, but then it went for President Biden in 2020. What do you think is behind this 6-point margin?
Yeah, well, look, you know, Michigan is another one of those states, much like Wisconsin, you know, which is why a lot of these states are considered battlegrounds, because they do swing back and forth. You know, in the case of the governor's race, one thing with respect to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, she does enjoy pretty favorable approval ratings. We have seen that in our own polling. Her approval ratings are higher than that of President Biden, and that is notable because our polling also found that there is some, you can see the numbers there, there, 50%, 52% approving of Gretchen Whitmer and her performance compared to 61% who disapprove with respect to the president. So I think seeing that stark contrast really says a lot. But, in a state like Michigan, our polling also found that, many voters also believe that the president's policies haven't necessarily been beneficial to the state with respect to the economy. So it is something that the governor has to contend with, and that might also explain why this is just a single-digit difference between Governor Whitmer and her opponent, Tudor Dixon, that the spread isn't wider from that standpoint because, as we discussed with some of these other races, the economy, inflation really is top of mind for a lot of voters. And so obviously those voters who are more dissatisfied with that, more dissatisfied with the president, are likely to lean probably more towards that Republican challenger, Tudor Dixon, whereas those who have been overall approving of Governor Whitmer certainly are likely to back her again. So yet again, another race that we'll be keeping a close eye on in these final weeks.
So many close races. Nikole Killion breaking it all down for us. Thank you.